a func invisible user is basically a trigger, but you can also provide a hint to the player. I'm double clicking on the commands folder and selecting the trigger texture. And with it, I am creating a box here. So there we have a box. I select it and I right click in the 2D window and select func invisible user. There it is. I press N to open the entity window and I enter cursor hint and hint underscore activate. Then I press the enter key on my keyboard. I compile the map and I launched the mod RtCW, and I'm playing with version 4.0. And please keep in mind that I haven't created any bot files, so the enemy soldier will just stand there. Let's check it out. Where's that hint activate? There it is. Can you see it? It's that little hand. However, if I press the activate key on my keyboard, nothing happens. And if I go back to the door, we can see a hint door symbol. And if I press the activate key on my keyboard, something happens, i.e. the door opens. So we need to have some sort of action over here. Let's go back to the editor. I want something to happen here as I press the action key on my keyboard. I think I'm going to right click here in the 2D window and add a target print entity. There we go. I select the target print entity and I press N to bring up the entity window, and I type message and hint activate. You can type anything, but I'm just going to type the action for this func invisible user. I press the escape key to deselect everything. I select the func invisible user entity by clicking once. And now I press the shift key on my keyboard and click once on the target print entity. So both entities are selected. And in the top menu, I click entity. And I select connect entities. I press the escape key. And as you can see, there's a green line connecting the two entities, indicating that they are indeed connected. Actually, if I select the func invisible user and press N to bring up the entity window, we can see that it actually targets target print 1. And if I click on the target print, we can see that its target name is indeed target print 1. And this was created automatically as we selected the connect entity option over here. Escape to deselect, close the window. So now the func invisible user entity targets the target print entity. We're going to compile and test the map. There it is. Okay, I'm going to press the activate key on my keyboard now. 3, 2, 1. And we got a printed message on the screen. Hint activate. Back to the editor. And I'm going to create a second func invisible user here to the right. But first, by the way, if you want to hide something, start by selecting it. Then go to the top menu and click the View tab. Select Hide selected. And it's temporarily gone. To bring it back, just go to the same tab and select Show Hidden. And it comes back. I use this mapping function quite often by pressing the Shift key on my keyboard and then selecting multiple entities, and then I just hide them. There we go. Much easier to map here now. Here, I'm going to create a second Func Invisible user. So I created the brush with the trigger texture. I make sure it's selected and I right click and go for Func Invisible user. Next, I press the N key to bring up the entities window. And this time I'm typing cursor hint door. Perfect. And of course, on top of it, I'll right click here and create a target print. And I press N and I enter message, hint door. And then I just press the enter key on my keyboard to execute and close the window. What am I missing? Can you help me? Well, of course, I need to connect the two entities. So I press the Shift key and I click once on the Func Invisible user and I click once on the target print. And then I go to, where is it now? The Entity tab, there it is, and connect entities. There's also a quick command. You can press Ctrl+K on your keyboard. Okay, that's it. Just compile and test the map. Okay, let's see if it works. Here's the first one. Let's press F, which is my activate key on my keyboard. And we get the first message, hint activate. And over here, there should be a hint door. Ah, there it is. Can you see it? Yeah. And the message is hint door. Nice. It's a bit hard to see the invisible, Func Invisible users, but they're there. And we're back. I'm going to create two more. So let's see here. It's going to be over here. There. Oops, too high. There we go. So it's going to be this one. And a second one. I'm going to create two more. So let's select that one, right click and turn it into a Func Invisible user. Cursor hint. And what should we do this time? I'm gonna try with hint breakable. I hope it works. We need a target print. Like so. And I press the Shift key and I click once on the Func Invisible user entity, and then I click once on the target print entity, and then I go to the Entity tab and I select Connect Entities. And they are connected. And I select the target print entity and I press N to bring up the entities window. And I'm typing message. And this time it's the hint breakable. And I hope you do understand that I can put in any message here. And just to prove that, I'm going to type test 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to type hint breakable. And let's select this brush and turn it into a Func Invisible user. Press N to bring up the entities window. Let's type cursor hint. This one's going to be special. It's going to be a hint none. That means that there will be no hint whatsoever. It's just going to be a trigger with no hint. It's going to be hard to see that one, so I need to put something behind it so we know where it is. Let's see if I can create some sort of brush here. Like so, there we go. And I need a texture, so let's put something bright so we can see it. This metal texture. So we have a tiny brush behind this fourth Func Invisible user. And I know what you're thinking. If it's tiny, shouldn't you turn it into a detailed brush? And you're right. So let's select it and go to the tab, brush, and turn it into a detailed brush. In fact, I can copy this and put it behind the other three boxes as well. So I'm going to press the space bar to duplicate it. And I'm going to put one here and one here, and one here. Perfect. Now we have some way of knowing where the invisible Funk Invisible users are in the game. And this fourth Funk Invisible user entity needs a friend. It needs its own target print. So there we go. Rise it up. And we need to put in a message here. And it's a hint none. Press Shift and then click once and click again. And then go to Entity and select Connect Entities. Perfect. Enough talking. Let's compile and test the map. Okay, here's the first one. It's the hint activate, if I remember correctly. So I'm pressing the activate key on my keyboard. 3, 2, 1, now. And it works. Hint activate. The second one, it was the hint door. Perfect. And the third one, do you remember which one it was? It's the hint breakable. And I put in a special message. Let's see if it works. It does. So this sort of proves what I said, that you can put in any message. Any message will do. And the fourth one was hint none. So as you can see, there's no hint. It doesn't show. But if I press the activate key on my keyboard, it shows up. So there you have it, 4 different hints. Activate, door, breakable, and no hint at all. And if I press the activate key, it still works as a trigger. Next, I want to show you a trick to hide the cursor hint. So let's look at the radio. This radio is a Funk explosive entity. Now suppose that you, as a mapper, you want to remove that cursor hint. You don't want the player to see it. You can enter cursor hint none and test. Click once, press N to bring up the entities window, and enter cursor hint. And hint none. You want to test it? Yeah, let's test it. And here we are. We're inside real RtCW. The cursor hints are working fine for the 2 first entities. But for the radio, the cursor hint is gone. So that sort of shows that the cursor hint none actually works. It removes the cursor hint. And we're back in the editor, and I'm going to show you the second trick. Let's highlight the entity and press N, and then I'm going to remove this hint none by deleting it like so. And just to prove that it's back, I'm going to compile the map. And we're inside real RtCW, and you can see the cursor hint for the weapon and the magazine. And the cursor hint is indeed back for the radio. And we're back in the editor. The second trick is to put a large Funk Invisible user covering the entire entity, like so. So there's the brush with the trigger texture. I select it, right-click, and turn it into a Funk Invisible user. I press N, and then I just type cursor hint none. And this will sort of cover the Funk explosive, and the only thing the player will see is the hint none. In other words, nothing. And believe it or not, we can do it for almost any entity. So over here we have the door entity. Let's cover it and put a texture on top of it. And turn this texture brush into a Funk Invisible user. And then bring up the entities window and just punch in cursor hint none, like so. And compile the map. And we're back inside real RtCW, and the hint is working for the weapon and for the magazines, but not for the radio, because we covered it with a Funk Invisible user with the cursor hint none. Let's check out the door. It's the same here. The door hint is gone. And we're back in the editor. Let's remove that Funk Invisible user and the one covering the door. This concludes this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and write a comment if you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.